All right, so I have clients that struggle with consistency. So I'm gonna teach you guys how to be more consistent. But I need you guys to understand that this is gonna be something that's gonna happen in little steps. We're not gonna get from A to B right away. So, in order to start being more consistent with eating the right foods, you have to identify your goal, right? What's your goal? Are you trying to see weight loss? Are you trying to change your pant size? Health, performance, confidence? Identify a clear goal for yourself. Where are we trying to go? What are we trying to get? Once you identify your goals, you're going to track for 5 to 7 days of tracking. I don't care how you track as long as you're tracking and you have some data for me, right? So we can either track on an app, we can start journaling, or we can start taking pictures. The most important thing is that we're truthful and we're actually seeing what are our habits, what are our patterns, what are we eating. That way we can identify our starting point, our A. So for tracking, I want you to track 4 weekdays, 1 weekend, or you can track 3 weekdays and 2 weekend days. Because let's be honest, our diet changes on the weekend when we're not at work. We have more freedom. My goal is to collect this data and see how I can take you from A to B, right? To go from A to B, you have to identify what are some behaviors, what are some skills you're working on that are going to help you get there, right? So, behaviors. Once you have your behaviors and your skills, and you understand how much activity you're getting, if you're eating whole foods, if you're counting your calories, your portions, it's a good one to write down. Calories. If you're sleeping enough, are you too stressed out to sleep? Are you drinking your calories? Is alcohol a factor in this equation? Hydration, are you drinking enough water? Right? Are you portion controlling? What are we doing now at point A? And what kind of behaviors and skills do we need at point B? So let's just say your goal is to lose 40 pounds. If I was to wave a magic wand and take you from point A to point B, where you're 40 pounds lighter, what would the version of you at point B do differently from the version of you at point A? Right? That could be you're exercising more, you're prioritizing whole foods instead of processed foods, you're sleeping a good amount of hours, 7 to 8, even 9 hours. Stress is at all-time low. You're not drinking your calories anymore. You're not consuming as much alcohol. Keyword as much because I know you guys aren't willing to quit and that's normal. But you're not consuming as much. You're focusing on your hydration, you're drinking enough water. And your calories, you're counting your calories, you're making sure that you're portioning your food. So, what behaviors and skills do you need to let go of or do you need to adopt in order to go from A to B? I'm going to help you break that down today. Okay, so in order to become the B version of yourself, you need to think what are some habits or what are some skills that the B version of me does that the A version of me isn't doing anymore or is doing now, right? So let's just say, let's pick 4 pain points for you. These are the most common ones for my clients. They're not eating enough protein. Protein's a big one, right? People don't eat enough protein throughout the day. They get hungry because they don't eat enough protein and they snack. Snacking is another one. Do you snack a lot? Do you have snacks readily available to you? Water. A lot of people don't drink enough water. And when you don't drink enough water, you're dehydrated and it causes you to eat. And another one, not counting your calories and just doing portions, right? So, calories and portions. So, if you're watching this, you're probably struggling with consistency in your nutrition. And my recommendation for a lot of people is A or B, right? Eat the frog basically means do the hard thing. Do the hard thing first, right? This may work for some people, but if you're watching this, you struggle with consistency. So I'm gonna give you this option. Option B. So when it comes to working on these habits right here, we have option A, eat the frog, do the hard one, knock it out first. We have option B, the lowest hanging fruit. Do the one that's easier for you to start with. I typically recommend A or B, but never both at the same time because that's just a recipe for disaster. So if you're somebody that struggles with consistency, I think option B would be a lot easier for you to commit to. So what would be the things that you can start today and that you can change today? I'm going to pick one that a lot of my clients struggle with. Their protein. A lot of people don't prioritize their protein and they undereat. So they'll come work out, they'll do a scan, then they'll see that they didn't gain muscle that week or they lost some muscle because they're not consuming enough protein. Now another low-hanging fruit. A lot of people struggle with calories and portions. I feel like that's a harder one for a lot of people. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go after another easy one. Protein is one of the easier ones, right? If you're mindful of it, you can eat it because you're going to eat anyways. Protein you pretty much knock out. Now we have snacks and water. Now this is up for you to decide, right? Your list may look different, but for this person, I'm going to pick water because I feel like these two would be the easiest in most cases. So now we got protein and water. These are the low-hanging fruits that we chose. So we're going to set some minimum standards for this person. We're just going to call this person Brandon, little Brandon. Little Brandon struggles eating protein and water. Struggles drinking water, not eating. Silly. Okay, so I'm going to give him a minimum standard. I don't expect Brandon to pick up the habit from A to B immediately. There's steps along the way, right? You're going to get there in baby steps. So what we're going to do for Brandon is if he's struggling to eat protein, I don't expect Brandon to go from no protein to protein every single meal. So we're going to set a standard. We're going to do 40 grams at breakfast and dinner. That's going to be the minimum standard for Brandon. And then we're going to do water. We'll do in the morning. So at the start of the day, we want Brandon to drink water every single morning. And we want him to do 16 ounces of water 3 times a day. These are the low-hanging fruits. This is pretty easy to commit to, at least for little Brandon, right? Now, if you make your 2 out of your list and you get 2 goals, I want you to ask yourself, from a 1 to a 10, how likely is it that I'm going to commit to my goal? If you answer anything below 9, I want you to rethink your goal. I want you to answer a 9 or a 10, right? So let's just say for Brandon, he really struggles with eating protein. He doesn't have an appetite in the morning, and it's really hard for him, and it's really going to be unlikely for him to follow this. I don't think that this would be an appropriate goal for him, right? So if you answered anything below 9, I want you to modify your goal to something that you're actually going to be consistent with. So we'll just say, let's just do 40 grams of protein at dinner. And we're going to start small. Because if you start small, that just means I'm taking one step, right? I'm not trying to jump all the way. I want to start in steps that are going to be sustainable for me, that are going to help me stay more consistent. So 40 grams of protein at dinner. Now my commitment goes from an 8 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 that I can definitely do this, right? So that's how I know I set a really good goal for myself. Now for the water. Water, I feel pretty confident. I give it a 9 out of 10 that I can do this. I can drink water in the morning. I can drink 16 ounces 3 times a day. So that went from 8 out of 10 to 9 out of 10. And this one, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Once you have 2 things that you can change that you're super confident in, we're going to build from there. We're going to go and tackle, we already took care of protein. We already took care of the water. So now we're going to tackle these 2, snacks and calories. So what's going to be a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 option for these 2? That's slowly how I'm going to take the next step. You have to understand that fitness, you can't go from A to B right away. In a perfect world, we would, but if you struggle with consistency, you have to make small little steps that are going to help you get to the big end goal. So I hope this helps. take some notes, take some time, see where you need to work on the most, and give me some feedback because this has helped some of my clients in the past.